Tonight, a look at some of the issues South African women, particularly those living in rural areas, ought to consider before casting their vote in next month's local government elections.
What is your strategy? What is your manifesto on women? What are you going to provide?
And permanent staff at the Kruger National Park will for the first time cast a vote for a local municipality.
They will be voting for local government. They will be voting for their district. They will be voting also for the wards, and they will also be voting for the PR.
Oh, well, good evening to another special pre-election show. It's Freedom Day, and we're celebrating 17 years of democracy in South Africa. My name is Tabi Sositone.
And my name is Leanne Manis. Welcome and happy Freedom Day, South Africa. I hope you've had a wonderful day, no matter what you did today. Well, our main focus this evening is election-related gender issues.
Now, to our viewers, all of you have been joining us and keeping us in tabs on what you think. We appreciate your SMSs. Keep them coming. Send them to 33726. And do remember to begin your message with the words elect, followed by the rest of your comment, and that SMS will cost you R1.50 each.
As always, this evening we begin the show with a wrap of the day's latest election news. Isabel de Taillefer compiled this report.
3 weeks to the elections and the political heat is soaring. The ANC and National Freedom Party members faced off in the ruling party's stronghold of Lamontville in KwaZulu-Natal. The police placed themselves between the two groups to prevent a showdown.
The ANC is a ruling party, but they failed to show us a quality of a ruling party. I don't think they deserve to rule in this country because they don't understand what democracy is.
No one attacked anyone in a manner that would say it was violent of some sort, because as the ANC we understand very well the fact that each and every party has to canvass as we approach the local government elections.
In Welkom, the ANC's campaign head attended the funeral of compatriot Tseliso Lifapang. It soon resembled a party rally, and the song at the centre of the case against the ANC Youth League boss reverberated. Fikile Mbalula went on to accuse DA leader Helen Zille of insinuating herself on the struggle.
Helen Zille was shouting names of our heroes down and down, as if he was part of us when we were fighting in the struggle.
In Cape Town, the DA and ANC mayoral candidates addressed two separate functions. Speaking at an interfaith prayer meeting in Langa, Ehrenreich spelled out his vision for an integrated Cape Town.
When we take over the city of Cape Town, we will build houses for our people from Langa and Elsies River, in Constantia and in Cape Town.
And the DA's Patricia de Lille says corruption is at the heart of the poor people's suffering.
The next 17 years will have to be focused on dealing with corruption because it steals from the poor and making sure that the bulk of our resources is directed towards making and giving a better life for all the poor people in our country.
Meanwhile, Ehrenreich continues his scrap with the DA-led city over the Cape Town Stadium. He accused it of sidelining the May Day rally with exorbitant costs and threatened to invade the premises. His federation's now taking the council to the local government association. But the city says it's already cut 75% of the hiring cost. The DA also questioned Ehrenreich's mayoral potential after he threatened to break the law and demanded the expropriation of city funds for a Casato rally. Opposition parties are fixing their sights on the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropole. The DA and COPE have launched intense campaigns here, while the UDM is contesting all the ANC-led wards.
The fact that the opposition parties are flocking Port Elizabeth is precisely because the ANC has failed dismally to bring services to the people in this area.
Now, more than 25 million of South Africa's 48 million citizens are female, and nationally nearly 13 million South African women are registered to vote, now compared to less than 11 million males. Yet women in this country continue to be marginalized. They're living in poor conditions, earning meager salaries, and don't have access to opportunities for skills development. Well, this evening we look at some of the issues facing many South African women, especially women living in rural areas, and what they should be considering before making their mark at the polls. Abra Bavia filed this report.
Despite large-scale urban migration, most women continue to live in rural areas where the incidence of poverty is very high. And while South Africa is working towards achieving the first target of the Millennium Development Goals, which is eradicating extreme poverty, the status of women in this country continues to lag behind, and social development and justice still lack efforts to improve the status of women. Women like Jeanette Jonkers, a seasonal farm worker from De Nova in Rawsonville in the Western Cape. She has 3 children aged 14, 2 and 1. Just like most mothers, Ms. Jonkers wants to be able to give her kids a better life. Currently, she only has a social grant for the littlest one. She will be applying for grants for the other 2 soon, but she knows it takes more than a grant to give her children a good life.
Yes, we struggle. We barely manage with the jobs we get, and we have little money.
Work here is scarce, and living in a house with 11 people, it's not easy to put food on the table. Ms. Jonkers' living conditions, although not the best, is much better than many people here in her town. She says housing is one of the main issues she hopes will be resolved in this area after the elections.
The problem is employment and houses for people. There are not many houses here. People live in squatter camps and shacks, and it's dangerous.
Ms. Jonkers is registered to vote. She has made her mark before and feels it's been worth her while to do so.
Yes, it is worth it. But they must also look after us, because we looked after them and put them where they want to be.
Like Ms. Jonkers, for many in this country, dealing with poverty is a daily struggle. Because poverty is one of the main challenges facing humanity, it is therefore imperative for government to implement strategies aimed at eradicating poverty. This is where service delivery interventions come into play, and that is why local government elections are so important. Despite some achievements made by government, the extent of inequality between rich and poor remains great. These inequalities are defined by race, gender and class. This is why poverty is mostly noted among the rural, poor and black communities. Colette Solomon of the Women on Farm Project says these are the questions women should be asking political parties before making their mark at the polls.
What is your strategy? What is your manifesto on women? What are you going to provide?
These manifestos will give you an indication of what kind of services you can expect from parties. For poorer women, like those in the rural areas, there is a daily battle with services provided, like healthcare and safety. Ms. Solomon says these women in particular are not afforded any dignity or respect.
The services and the quality of services that women on farms receive from South African police services is really beyond, it's not acceptable. For example, a woman would call and say that her husband has beaten her or that there's been a rape on a farm, and the police would say, "Are you bleeding? Is anyone dead?" And if not, the police will say, "Well, we don't have a van to send."
She says women should educate themselves on the services a party promises to provide, and if they're not happy with what's on offer, they should tell party candidates why they won't be voting for them.
In South Africa, we have not yet seen a single political party that has actually come out with a coherent strategy to address the multiple issues, problems facing women in South Africa today.
Solomon says there is a particular lack in how poverty and endemic violence against women is being dealt with. She says women need to think carefully about how they vote, as their vote will make a difference in the political and socio-economic conditions affecting females in this country. Abra Barbia, SABC News, Cape Town.
Well, we're joined in studio now by political analyst Lebogang Pheko, who, of course, is going to talk more about this and a lot more when it comes to issues affecting women. Good to have you on the show. Thank you very much for being our guest here.
Thank you.
Let's take a look at women, and we'll start off. We'll talk about rural women and citizens when we talk about women in a short while. Let's talk about the candidates first. Recently, we see the IEC release the candidates list, and it shows basically that from 35% women candidates in 2006, it's gone up to 37%. I mean, that is negligible. What is this really saying? Why are we not seeing more women candidates?
I think that the nature of politics is that, number one, issues of participation are quite challenging. I think for most of us, there are family and other constraints which make participation very difficult. That's one thing. Meetings are held weekends, late at night. That's one practical constraint. Financing of political careers is another practical constraint. But we should also remember that just like any other sector or any other social grouping, politics is also replicating a lot of the patriarchy and the sexism that we see in broad society. So just as it's difficult for women to arise in the corporate sector, in civil society, or in many non-traditional male careers, male-dominated careers, women in politics will also face the same kind of obstruction or the same kind of difficulty. Although this country has tried to create a much more enabling environment, 1/3 out of 100% is still not that much.
Yeah. When we look, however, at a ministerial level, again, let me throw some percentages out here. 44% of MPs, 43% of cabinet members, and 40% of local government councillors are women. So this is. It's a positive move when one looks at the representation of women. But how good are these women in these positions? Are they doing enough for women in South Africa, which from the insert we saw before, it doesn't appear that way?
The statistics are very impressive, and compared to most countries in the world, South Africa is leading in terms of representation of women in senior positions. I think the quality and the content becomes the next layer of intervention. And I think that what we need to really address ourselves to is how our elected representatives are advancing women's citizenship, and whether or not we are focusing more on the numbers rather than on the quality of the service rendered. And I think that, in all fairness, there's a lot that could be done across, among both men and women in enhancing their ability to effect change and to be much more articulate public representatives and advocates for social change and social transformation. We expect more from women because clearly, in terms of dealing with so-called women's issues, although of course these are societal challenges which impact on women in a particular way, but we expect more because I suppose they are like us, they are us, they have faced and face the same kind of challenges. What we need to look at is how then we deal with strict structures and systems, systemic flaws, structural flaws, which make the discourse and which make it very difficult for progressive voices to be heard. I mean, when you start talking about things like childcare for women, it's like, well, we're not nannies. What is this? This is not a crèche. And yet these are some of the practical things which make it difficult. When you start talking about issues of access to water, we all know that in most rural areas, access to water, basic services, healthcare, electricity, etc., it is women who still are bearing the brunt of social reproductive functions. And again, these are not soft issues. These are hardcore life or death living issues.
Yeah. Let's move on to another issue where we've got SALGA, which of course is the South African Local Government Association, saying that it's aiming to ensure full participation of women when it comes to these local government, in local government basically. But how do you think an association like SALGA can actually influence parties in gender equity when it ultimately is up to the party to compile their lists?
It is up to the party to compile their list, but it also is, I'd be interested to see what kind of approaches SALGA are proposing. You know, I think we're a bit embezzled out in this country. You know, everything is an embezzle, a hotla, a gathering of people, a gathering of stakeholders, and we have these very romantic ideas that we're all sitting under this one big community, sitting under trees, discussing our issues in a meaningful way. And this is not actually happening. I mean, these road shows tend to be more like public relations events rather than substantive ways of dealing with policy shifts. And I suppose SALGA can only do so much. They may be able, perhaps with the IEC, be able to influence and create a more conscious political movement, and where choices in terms of gender parity are considered much more clearly and much more consciously, rather than as a, you know, we need a woman, we'll pick her kind of approach. And I think that we need to see a much more thoughtful reflection as a collective, as a community, as a society, as parliamentarians, as officials, as communities. Surely there are a lot of women in communities who are doing amazing stuff, I think, you know, and who are making amazing contributions. Why are they not emerging much more clearly, much more significantly?
Yeah, I mean, we've even got a department now that is meant specifically to focus on women's needs. I mean, it's for children, women, and people with disabilities. And yet, since this department was formed, have we seen much development? Have we seen change? Have we seen help for the normal South African women out there?
Well, one of the problems is with these kinds of departments globally is that, number one, the more, you know, it's one of those departments which make gender-related issues visibly invisible, as I call it, because then they are ghettoized and placed under the ambit of a particular department, and as though no other government department has any responsibility to think about the gender implications of any of their policy choices. That's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is that when you lump issues, you conflate issues of women, the disabled, youth, children, all of which are unique and different and need particular intervention. It's incredibly difficult. And then it's also one of the least resourced government departments as well. It's asking for a lot.
Yeah, it's almost an impossible task, as one would put it. We sit here on Freedom Day, and South Africans all around the country celebrating their freedom. And yet, when we look at women, are the women of South Africa really free when there are so many constraints around them, not enabling them to succeed?
Look, in many respects, we are actually filled with, you know, we've got a lot of opportunities at our disposal. And I think that's something that should be celebrated in this country, even compared to a lot of countries across the world, the US, New Zealand, etc. You know, in many respects, there's a lot more opportunity, but we should not be blind to the fact that we've got some of the highest rates of femicide, you know, violence against women, violent crimes, rape statistics, etc. We shouldn't be blind to that. We should also not be blind to the less tangible and less tangible violence against women. I mean, violence in the way the law is handled. Women who go to try and report cases and are asked, well, you know, what were you wearing? I mean, that's not the
treatment that you get.
The treatment, but also the institutional violence which is taking place, whether in the workplace, the kind of lewd, inappropriate commentary, which is still the vocabulary in most workplace situations, highly inappropriate, highly sexist, and violent in a different way. And there's so many different cultural violence. There's still a lot of virginity around things like controversy around virginity testing, etc. So there's a whole arena of advocacy, of intervention, of conversation that still needs to happen.
Well, a lot needs to happen, and I think it's up to the women out there to go and vote for who they feel can make the biggest difference in their lives, and that's what these local government elections are all about. Lebogang, there's so much more to talk about. We have to wrap it. We're running out of time. Thank you again for being with us and taking part in this special pre-election program. Let's take a break, everybody. Stay tuned. We'll be with you after this.
It's time for more big deals during Game's birthday.
Make sure you have your game leaflet and a phone ready to win big.
Get the Pampers Mega Box in various sizes for only $309.99 per box. Includes premium kid disposable nappies.
Get decorating with these Decoland PVC Venetian blinds for only R59.99 each.
Get this 15-inch Toshiba Celeron notebook with Canon MP250 printer for only $2,999.
Get the Samsung E2550 on a Casual Chat 100 contract and get a 3,000 Rand game voucher. Or pay $499 on prepaid plus a 50 Rand airtime voucher. Don't forget to insure your phone with Game. See you in store for details.
Got your Leaf Fit and the phone ready? It's time for you to win big. What brand is the printer that is included with the Toshiba Celeron notebook? SMS your answer to 33161 or enter online at game.co.za.
Hurry, SMS lines close in 1 hour.
Don't forget to join us for another round of What's the Big Deal? Tomorrow night right here at 6:10. Good night.
I'm the Invisible Man. I'm the Invisible Man.
What? Are you blind? Pull over. Pull over.
I'm the Invisible Man. I'm the Invisible Man.
I'm so sorry.
You're a real idiot.
Okay.
Look at my car.
With claim service so fast, it'll be as if it never happened. Call Outsurance today.
Invisible Man.
Welcome back. You're watching our live special pre-election program right here on SABC2. Hopefully you're enjoying your Freedom Day.
Right, now service delivery remains a major election issue. So let's hear once again what our viewers have to say about this.
It is disappointing, given the fact that in other places they don't even ask for these things. You know, the neighboring suburbs, it is still the same old song of sixpence.
Why? Because sometimes you can just check this sewage. It's now almost about 9 months. They are not coming and fix it.
The government is really trying. Bayazama ukwenza the best that they can. But anqondo bana bafaka ixesha elininzi ukuyilungisa bajonge kahle bana singa curb phi izinto ezithile.
Service delivery abatsa dintho tse kana go ya bona kana go ba ratang ka yona anyway yabo. So a re tsebe go tlamile re beretse jwang gore ba etse dintho according the way tlamile ba di etse ka teng.
Otherwise ke khotsofetse ha ke na le bothata ba tla ba thusa.
I'm not happy, but we're having strikes now with the bus company. So I'm not happy.
Now, permanent staff of the Kruger National Park will for the first time cast a vote for a local municipality. Previously, the park was demarcated as a district management area which fell under the Mpumalanga province. A district management area is a conservation or rural area with very few people that does not fall under a local municipality. Lizette Labuschachny reports.
Following a decision by the Municipal Demarcation Board to reduce the number of cross-border municipalities, the Kruger National Park has been incorporated into 2 different municipalities. The park, south of the Olifants River, will be added to Mpumalanga's Eglanzeni District Municipality, situated in Nelspruit. The area north of the river will now fall under the Mupani District Municipality at Kiani in Limpopo. It has been in the Botchlabela District Municipality until now, which included the Bushbuck Ridge and Maruleng municipal areas. The Demarcation Board proposed that Bushbuck Ridge Municipality be added to the Englanzeni District Municipality, and the Maruleng Municipality will become part of the Mupani District Municipality. The Kruger Park will now resort under local municipalities, and the IEC had to make changes to its voting stations.
We have those that are still with Bushbuck Ridge, which is the open gate, which is a mobile. Then we also have the Satara and Shimanimani. That will be serviced by a mobile voting station. And then the one that fell under Ngomazi, it's the one at Malilani Gate, which will be now serviced by Ngomazi Municipality.
A permanent voting station will be open in the Skakuza Rest Camp with a mobile voting station at Pretoria Skop. Previously, each voter in a district management area received 2 proportional representation ballot papers for the district council. In this election, they will also cast a vote for local government.
as they are now falling under municipalities, they will be voting for local government. They will be voting for their district. They will be voting also for the wards, and they will also be voting for the PR like the rest of us.
Staff working on election day will have the opportunity to cast a special vote on Monday the 16th of May. Lizette Laviskagni, SABC News, Skukuza.
Protecting my family comes naturally. The same natural instinct is why bees use propolis to protect their hives against germs. So I use Protex Propolis.
It's the only soap that combines the benefits of propolis with Protex's powerful anti-germ formula. Unlike ordinary soap, Protex eliminates 99% of germs and creates a barrier that protects your family's skin for hours.
Because it's natural instinct to protect your family.
New Protex Propolis for the good health of your skin.
Ach, no, man, I'm full of grease. This water's cold. This is not lekker.
Chill, dude. Endless days of scrubbing are like over. The ladies brought new Sunlight Turbo.
Ach, what do you know, Boot?
This new formulation with real lemon juice will cut through your grease fast, even in cold water.
Cool, brew.
Cheers to faster degreasing.
Faster degreasing at any temperature with Sunlight Turbo.
Have you ever thought about how you'd support your family if you had to go to hospital and couldn't work?
Take out a Charters Hospital cash plan. You could be paid up to 2,500 Rand a day for every day that you are in hospital. From as little as 85 Rand 50 a month. You can get cover for hospitalization due to accident or illness. Call us now for the Charters Hospital cash plan.
I may be in hospital, but with 2,500 Rand a day, at least I know my family is taken care of.
Charters, your world insured.
Germs? Our empire of sickness stretches all over the bathroom. But why is it in danger? Anyone? Oh, what's this?
Just one capful of thick, powerful Domestos cleans all surfaces in the bathroom and kills germs and viruses on contact.
There is nowhere to hide.
Domestos kills all known germs dead everywhere.
Well, let's continue with more election news. The Mpumalanga Party was formed by a group of ANC members who have been fighting for the incorporation of the Mutse area in the province of Mpumalanga.
Now, to tell us more about the party and why you should vote for them, here's Sian Mohoji.
Mpumalanga Party ke mokgatlo e leng gore o emetse batho ba mutse ba e leng gore ke kgale ba nyaka go ya go la Mpumalanga. Now priority ya mathomo ba e leng gore batho ba tlo votela Mpumalanga Party ke gore sa mathomo in the municipality re kgone go tša masepala re ishe mo province re be gore e rata. Sa bobedi se leng gore re gane Limpopo ka sona ke taba ya di-services rile di hlokwa le di-services tša batho ke tšona tše di phušitšeng gore batho ba resorten establishing this organization. Now re wisha gore batho ba ka votela mokgatlo go tlo thepa corruption ka mogare ga masepala go tlo lebella also le di-services tše leng gore ra di hloka ka mogare ga province ya Bošuana ya Limpopo. Now le dilo tša education mo masepaleng wa rena ke bohula fela ga gona le selo se ntse re le ka gare ga province ya Limpopo. Now re tshepile gore ka Mpumalanga re tlo correct a lot of things, the issue of corruption, di-services tše leng gore batho ba di deserve in the area.
Well, that's where we end off tonight's show. Time flies when you're having fun, as they say.
It certainly does. But if you missed the whole or part of this evening's show, it is available on www.sabc.co.za/elections. You'll find it all there.
Now, I'll be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the evening, right on SABC2, with more news from the elections. And one of the stories in tomorrow's lineup is an update on the billing chaos in Johannesburg, which has become a major bone of contention in the run-up to the next month's local government elections. From me, Tabiso Sitole, and our sign language lady, Andisaki Bashe. Good night.
Good night, everyone.